Hey Freedom Lovers, this is Dr. Peterson Pierre with America's Frontline Doctors bringing you today's Daily Dose. The Attorneys General of Montana and Texas on Tuesday filed a lawsuit against Xavier Becerra, Secretary of the Department of Health and Human Services, HHS, over a rule that says states must pay for gender transition procedures through their Medicaid programs and requires healthcare providers who receive federal funding to perform such procedures even in violation of state law. That makes no sense at all. And by the way, just to clarify, when they say the states should pay, yeah, that means us. We are the ones paying. The complaint filed on June 11th asked the court to block a new rule recently published by HHS that modifies non-discrimination protections of the Affordable Care Act in a way that expands the definition of sex. Didn't President Clinton have something about redefining sex? Yeah, but I digress. To include discrimination based on gender identity. The final rule, called Non-Discrimination in Health Programs and Activities, implements Section 1557 of the Affordable Care Act in a way that reinstates and expands on many of the 2016 regulations from the Obama administration, while reversing much of the 2020 version of the rule adopted under then President Donald Trump. The rule, which applies to health programs and activities that receive federal financing, has staggered effective dates starting on July 5th of 2024. It provides non-discrimination healthcare protections to individuals and protected groups, including prohibiting denial of benefits, coverage, and program participation based on factors like race, age, disability, and sex, which has been expanded to include the concept of gender identity. The rule explicitly provides non-discrimination protections based on gender identity and sexual orientation, and categorically prohibits the denial of, you gotta love this term, gender-affirming care. The Attorneys General of Montana and Texas object to what they call in their complaint a, quote, devastatingly drastic social change, end quote, under Section 1557. They argue that the change effectively forces taxpayers in those states to pay for controversial drugs and experimental surgeries for people seeking gender transition, which they label as procedures that, quote, inflict permanent harm, end quote. Quote, we are suing to stop the Biden administration from withholding federal health care funds to force medical professionals to perform these experimental and dangerous procedures, end quote, Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton said in a statement. The two attorneys general argue in the complaint that the final rule is unlawful and an unconstitutional attempt to override state law. They're seeking injunctive relief to prevent the rule from being enforced. Quote, states should not be compelled to foot the bill for treatments that are leaving people, even children, with irreversible damage, end quote, Montana Attorney General Austin Knudsen said in a statement. Mr. Knudsen said that in some states, Montana included, healthcare providers may be forced to choose between violating state law and losing federal funding. He cited Montana's Senate Bill 99, which bans the provision of surgical procedures to address a minor's perception that their gender differs from their biological sex. Just like the government to threaten to withhold money if you don't do as they say. Ladies and gentlemen, only the truth will set you free. Stay tuned for the next Daily Dose.